Hello.
Hello, AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Embergard.
And in this video, we're looking at the changes made by GW to Warhammer Underworlds.
So we're going to be looking at all of the Rivals deck and Warband changes that came about in their most recent update.
Yeah, we're only going to cover the really major ones that make
Yeah.
a big difference. There might be a few small text changes and stuff. We're not going to do deep dive everything. But we will start with Countdown to Cataclysm.
And they've righted what I consider to be a major wrong, and they've changed it now. So the Countdown to Cataclysm, the countdown has to count every time. You get no say in the matter, which to me makes absolute sense, because it's not like the countdown to maybe a cataclysm.
It's like, Michelle, we count down. She goes, no, let's not bother.
We don't have a cataclysm.
This doomsday clock here, let's just leave it alone.
Just take the battery out. It's easy. It doesn't have to be it. So yeah, they've made it now so you have to move it, which means that it doesn't really make a difference to spread havoc. You pretty much wanted to count it up to at least two to get that one.
They don't care.
But now wreckers, that could be a bit more of a problem if you don't get that till late in the game, and you've already counted up to like the 3 or the 4 band, especially if you're up against a Stormcast Warband. They've only got 3 fighters. You're stuffed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have always thought that the whole countdown to Cataclysm, A, doesn't make sense because it counts up rather than down, and 2, or B, I can't remember what I started on, so the next one, A, so B, I think, comes next. I was never good at maths. Once you get to the Cataclysm, nothing happens. It's just like this massive bomb just goes... and that's it. It's like, well, that wasn't very cataclysmic. Yeah, it should have been the countdown to anti-cataclysm.
I quite like. Also, it'd be good if you keep spread havoc, whatever, and all those things are the same, right? But if the cataclysm value gets to 4, all your fighters die, and your opponent gets 7 glory.
That would be juicy. So yeah, either way, they've now ruled it so the countdown to cataclysm always counts, and that should have always been the case.
Yeah, so that is better. That is a better change. It's going to make Cataclysm a little bit less strong, but not much.
Yeah, once you combine it with the restricted card as well, it means that it starts to become less guaranteed in the glory scoring front. So yeah,
I mean, you're still going to score spread however for 2.
Yeah,
but you might have to fish for wreckers a bit harder. So now we're going to look at the Warband cards that they've changed.
Again, we're not going to cover all of them. We're just going to go through the ones that we think are most important or at least worthy. Yeah, worthy
like
of
Blackpowder.
So Blackpowder has always been one of those quite bad warbands.
Yeah, actually, then we have to take credit for the drop of this FAQ and rules update, because Pete and I started our Battle of the Bads where we were going to use the warbands that weren't very good and didn't get very much love. And GW seem to have, it's probably confirmation bias, but GW seem to have this knack of whenever we start something new, they drop something right in the middle of it, which screws it up. So we have recorded 2 lovely videos with Blackpowder in, which are really great games, which are now semi-obsolete because they've changed how he works.
Not only him, but they've changed the cards, they've changed some of the rules and everything as well. It's nice to see that he's got a bit of a boost. It's not a massive boost, though.
No, he gets +1 damage on his blunderbuss attack on the swag blast and the swag mortar. So they both do the same thing, but if you do actually manage to get a successful hit, you do get +1 damage. So I think it's not the change he wanted to see. What he really wanted to see was to make it slightly easier to inspire. To inspire him, you have to take off swag counters. And the only way to take off swag counters is to use the blunderbuss. And it did feel a bit rubbish that you had to basically do this subpar attack.
Especially if he was running on that massive cleaver doing 3 damage or whatever.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, I've got to do this, only going to do 1 damage. So at least you've got that now. Obviously, it still might miss, which isn't great. I would have liked to have seen it been easier to get the swag tokens or another way to take them off. So that you can inspire a bit more easily. Yeah,
it does make him the only ranged attack fighter with a damage 2 weapon in the whole game.
Well, that's quite exciting,
Which is a little nice thing to have, but unfortunately, it still sucks quite badly.
Yeah. Next up is the Crimson Court, and I'm going to sit back off camera while Pete explains this one.
There's a lot of changes in this one. They have changed their inspire conditions and everything, which is probably a good thing.
You have gone on and on and on about how terrible the Crimson Court inspire condition is. And I have to say, it was terrible, and it made no sense. Whereas this, they're back to their thematic, if not best, at least their thematic bitiness.
Yes, before you had standard objectives and then you had to discard power cards, which is a horrible thing to have to do in any game of Underworlds. And then when you discarded power cards, you got control points, and then when you got 3 control points, you could inspire vampires. It sucked. It was rubbish, and
if you discarded them, would you have revealed them, and therefore would you have played them?
Ah, yeah, there we go. And I've still scored
Ploy Master.
So the vampires inspire now when they have no more hungry tokens. They start with 2 hunger tokens, and they get another hunger token at the beginning of the second round and at the beginning of the third round.
So the most they can get is 4.
Most they can get is 4. If you attack someone and do damage, so when you make a successful attack, you can take 1 hunger token off.
Small snack.
Yep. And if you kill somebody, you can take all the hunger tokens off.
Full lunch.
As soon as you remove all your hunger tokens, you inspire. If you have 3 or more hunger tokens, so from the beginning of the second round onwards, you become bloodthirsty.
So you're likely to get a bloodthirsty fighter because you'd have to hit with every fighter.
Yes, and wound or kill with all of those attacks. So you're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 bloodthirsty fighters. Yeah. When you're bloodthirsty, you get +1 move, which isn't bad because some of them can be a bit slow. But you cannot use, you don't gain any benefits from guard tokens. So you can't go on guard, basically.
Thrashing around trying to eat stuff.
Basically, yeah. So that's all more thematic, makes inspiring them less painful for you, at least. Quite painful for your opponent, but at least sort of sits back in their old sphere of the way they work.
I think that just makes so much more sense. I don't know what they were trying to do with the other game. It was interesting, but it wasn't very thematic. It would have been better for something like
Guardians. The Guardians guarding things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't kind of make a lot of sense.
They have got this terrifying dark transfusion.
They're all pretty much the same as they were before. An ability that gives you cleave or ensnare, one that can give you +1 attack dice. And if you're bloodthirsty, extra move. The one that gives you 3 dodge for that attack, which is quite nice. Really nice. And dark transfusion.
I reckon we're going to see the Crimson Court go up the rankings now. I think people, because people play them more, because people really like the Crimson Court, and with good reason, because they're excellent models. Yeah. In fact, this is almost making me think, because I think we've still got a spare set, haven't we? Because we're going to actually now paint them, because there's a vague chance I might play them. I'm looking forward to seeing how these play. No doubt you will be playing them soon.
Yes, well, they're in our Battle of the Bads at the minute, so maybe they're not going to be so bad anymore, but we'll find out. I do like the fact that now, at least, they will inspire if you do what you should be doing with them, which is attacking people rather than standing on objectives and throwing away power cards. Yeah, didn't really make sense before. Makes a lot more sense now. Very happy with this change. Hex Banes have had a little bit of a buff. Not a massive buff, but a little bit of a buff.
No, they've got a buff because now we know that their marked thing carries on into the next turns, but we've talked about that elsewhere. But the little buff on their card is that they've added the Loyal Hounds can now move when they've already got a move token.
Yeah, before they could only do it if they didn't have a move, which was rubbish, means they could only move once. Now you can at least get multiple moves out of them, multiple assists out of them.
Which is how they were in the original version of the game, and I think it's much more thematic and makes them a little bit better.
Yeah, it gives them a few more assists to make them a bit more accurate, because they do really need that.
And in our Battle of the Bads, they are playing the Crimson Court. I think you've probably come out better out of it, but possibly. I'm looking forward to running around with the Hounds.
Before, they should have been called the Lazy Hounds, because they move once and then they just lay down and they don't do anything else, whereas now they are the Loyal Hounds. Yeah. Up next is the Cunning Crew, and they've had a couple of tweaks, more than I think a lot of them have, and probably good because
uplift them slightly.
They didn't feature a lot. They weren't great, and so this will hopefully make them a bit better.
Yeah, so they've changed the Inspired Edition. They've just tweaked it slightly so that if you kill the fighter you're attacking, in addition to either being flanked or surrounded, then you can inspire. So that's just an extra. It used to be you had to be flanked or surrounded, but now if you kill them and you're not flanked or surrounded, you still inspire. So that's better against all warbands. Yeah, it's also good if you've got maybe near the end of the game and your boss isn't inspired and he's on his own. It's like, well, I can't inspire my boss now. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. And the boss has also got a small lift, or rather the whole warband's got a small lift from a change to a cunning plan.
I have a cunning plan, Baldric.
So in the past, he had to have a move token before he could tell anybody his cunning plan. So I'm just going to run over here, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do.
My cunning plan to you.
Yeah, but now he could just tell them from wherever he is. So now, after an action step, regardless, as long as your leader's on the board, you can push each friendly minion up to the number of hexes equal to the game round. So that's really good. It means you haven't got to make a random movement with Malok. It's still only once per game, so I'd be fairly like, shall I do it? Shall I do it? Shall I do it? Oh, they're all dead.
I always do it as soon as I can. Just do it as quick as possible, and then there's, better to have regret something you've done than something you haven't done.
Yes, I can say that.
So there is that. Yeah. So it just makes it a bit easier. It restricts it a little less, so that you can use it. You could charge with your other big lad, and then you could scatter them all off somewhere as well.
Yeah, or
as long as your boss is alive.
Support to help him,
later on
future attacks or whatever.
So it's a nice little quality of life upgrade for them.
Yeah, because it stops. You've got a situation where if you want to use it, you can't charge.
Yeah.
So how rubbish is that?
Morgox has had a few FAQs answered about him. He hasn't any change to his abilities, but one of his abilities is explained in a bit more detail. Is if you use Wings of War to charge someone that you otherwise couldn't reach, and then you use your Shut It Pipsqueak ability from Morgox, and it works, and they can no longer use Wings of War, you've got a fighter who now can't charge. And what do you do in that situation? They can't charge, but they have to make a move action. So hold on to your Wings of War until you know that they've used their Shut It Pipsqueak.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable ruling. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know that they've got. It's not like a surprise.
Yeah.
You know they've got it, and it's like there's a risk. You can take the risk, or like you say, you can just make sure that you don't do it if it's vital.
Yeah.
If you had somebody else to charge to, I assume you could charge somebody else. If you wanted to charge to the back for some reason, but there was another opponent, you could go and veer off over there instead. That would be fine. But just watch out.
Always keep those options in your back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways you could lure your opponent into doing it. I'm going to play this, and then because Shadow Pipsqueak at the wrong time with the wrong card could be proper. In the arse.
Yeah, definitely. Brethren of the Bolt got a very small change in a very strange way as well. They've changed Heaven's Charge, which basically means before you had to pick an inspired fighter, uninspire them, and then do a damage to someone who's adjacent. Now they don't have to be inspired. Yeah.
So the question, actually, can I use Heaven's Charge and pick a friendly fighter who is uninspired?
I mean, no.
It literally says
pick fight, uninspire the fight. I guess the difference is there.
It doesn't say pick an inspired fighter.
Exactly. If it said pick an inspired fighter, it would probably still be asked. Can I pick an uninspired fighter instead? No.
Yeah. So I suppose technically the question is, can you uninspire
an uninspired fighter?
Apparently so. But basically, I don't know why they didn't errata the card.
Yeah, because all the others, they have that little alternate text for the card.
Say pick a fighter.
Not like they put it in a size that we could print out easily and then stick onto the cards or anything, which would have been fantastic. We've still got to work all that out ourselves like a bunch of cretins. But there you go.
Or wait for somebody else to do it. That's a little buff.
Yeah, a little bit. That would have been very handy because I definitely, in our games, again, where it's Blackpowder versus the Brethren, there was definitely a few situations where I'm like, I want to charge them, but if I charge and I attack and I succeed, they're going to uninspire and then I can't do that to do the damage. But
so it's quite good. So you can actually charge in, do a couple of damage and then kill someone.
And if you've got the right cards in your hand, there's that other one which is like, pick two fighters that are adjacent and do a damage to each of them. So you could do like 3 or 4 damage off of one attack.
Could get good.
Monogs Mob also got a small update, which was frankly one that I think we'd already all assumed.
Pretty much, yeah. You now just can't move the Celix Wing, whatever.
Yeah. Can't use Wings of War on him. Obviously, you can't do anything else to give him extra moves, so you can then charge with him. Obviously, because he's a flipping stalactite at the floor. He just can't move until he gets killed, then you take him off the board.
I don't know, again, it was one of those, the previous FAQ was just...
It was awful.
Just bonkers how they reworded it. But it's all back to normal now.
Hurrah!
Further adding fuel to the rumour that Pete has been bribing the designers of the game to improve his favourite warbands, Sepulchral Guard have had a bit of an update.
I think it's Aaron that's been bribing them, to be honest. But I'm certainly happy about the changes. They've had a few changes to all of their abilities on the cards. They've got a whole brand new ability. One's been completely replaced with a brand new ability, which I'm incredibly excited by. And I think all Sepulchral Guard players will be.
The other ability was quite good. I think they could have had that in addition.
Yeah, possibly could have had all 4. I don't think it would make them overpowered.
But it's quite nice because you do miss quite a lot of attacks.
You do,
so you've completely lost the one that's been able to just redo the attack.
Yeah, you have to make another attack with someone else. So they've got rid of that one.
Yeah.
And they've replaced it with Startling Reformation, which you use in your power step. So it's not a core ability, which is nice. You use it in your power step, and you can remove your leader from the battlefield and place them in an empty hex adjacent to 2 friendly fires and then give them a charge counter. You can only use this ability once, but I'm dead excited by that because you're going to be running probably a lot of skeletons into your opponent's half. So you keep a couple next to each other, and when people start closing in on your warden, just across the board.
It just means that if you are warden hunting, you've got to remember you've got to leave somebody at the back, which just gives the Sepulchral Guard maybe a bit of manoeuvre shenanigans to get round stuff. So I quite like that. I could see also it could be a real pain in the bum where you're trying to do something but you also want to keep 2 skeletons close together. So it could hamper you. But I quite like that. That's added some positional tactics to the game.
Yeah, it's also quite handy for Edge of the Knife, where you've got that one where you have to have like 3 fighters that are all tempered. So you've got 2, you teleport him over beginning of the next round. Nobody's got any move counters. If he's got a Dark Horse on where he's already injured from an attack before you moved him, it makes some of that a bit easier as well to score. But overall, it will just hopefully make the Warden a little bit more survivable. Yeah. Bone Shrapnel has been heavily tweaked as well. Before, you could use that with any fighter, but you couldn't target a vulnerable fighter who was attacking you, which made no sense. It was like, oh, I won't blow up on you because you're obviously nearly dead. So now you can only use it on fighters that don't have raise counters, so it reduces its usage a little bit.
Friendly fighters don't have raise counters.
Friendly fighters don't have raise counters. But you can inflict that damage on vulnerable enemy fighters. So if you've got one wound, if you start going like sepulchral guard hunting, you've got to be really careful because they could just blow up in your face and take you out.
You've got to go for it, though, haven't you?
I think you have,
you've got to go for it.
You just got to build that into it. I know I'm going to die, so I'm going to kill that guy
maybe
as
not
well.
if you're a 3-wound fighter and they're a 1-wound fighter, maybe not. But I think
as a warden player, as a guard player, I think you're definitely going to keep hold of that to late game for when you've got lots of your opponents who are like running around 1 wound because they're going to suddenly be sitting there going, I don't really want to attack them because they're going to blow up in my face and I'm going to lose my big fight.
As long as you're not all being raised by that, so you've probably got to watch
out
for.
Yeah, that's that. It was reducing. I like that element of, do you use it early when you've got lots of options or do you use it later when you could possibly kill someone?
Yeah. Talking of raising, I believe they've changed Arise.
They have. Arise has also changed. So you still pick 2 fighters again and you still put them on the board. You can only use it when your Warden doesn't have any charge counters as before. When you put them on, they still get a raise counter, but they don't take any wounds now. Now, it's not a lot because they only had 1, but they don't go to vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if I'm happy about that or not, to be honest, because when you were vulnerable, you were at least immune to a lot of ping. And now back with 2 wounds.
You're immune to ping and you could score lots of rack and ruin cards.
Yeah, because you had lots of wounded fighters running around. Now you don't have any of that. But it does mean if you raise a 2-wound fighter and then you suddenly put Great Fortitude on him, now he's a 3-wound fighter.
Yeah.
That makes him a much tougher target than
he's a 3-wound fighter and you don't get any glory for killing him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whereas before if you'd raised him, he'd be a 3-wound fighter, but he would have already taken a wound, so he'd still be within 1 shot range.
You also don't have that stupid interaction with Gore Chosen anymore.
Yes, that is very true, and I wonder whether that's part of it as well. It means that Gore Chosen don't just get double bubble for every time the guard player just does anything.
Yeah, exactly. I get extra blood because the bloodless thing has come back with more unblood on him.
Exactly.
I don't know why he's suddenly gone Russian, but...
So that's the Sepulchral Guard. They've had quite a nice little buff there. I'm really looking forward to trying them out.
So you've got loads of things to try. Seppi G, Crimson Court.
Yeah. You've got Borgits and Blackpowder.
Yeah, Borgits hasn't changed. Yeah. Blackpowder has though. And Brethren, I suppose. I did try the Brethren, but I'm not sure I want to go back to the
still rubbish.
Still get flashbacks.
Next up, one of the worst warbands ever, the Skinnerkin. No, they didn't get anything, sorry. Yeah, GW didn't help them out at all. They're still rubbish.
You didn't get the memo on that one, didn't screw us over there.
No. Oh.
But another nerf from one of the strongest warbands in the game, and the Thricefold Discord have been nerfed once again.
Yeah, the evasive rule has been changed and now it only can be used if the fighter has no move or charge tokens. Pretty much, not completely, but I think mostly it removes evasive from the game because you're not going to waste your attacks on fighters that haven't got move or charge tokens. You're going to wait until one of them moves or charges and you're just going to dog pile
I suppose late game it could be good because late game sometimes you're standing right there and that's just what you've got to do, but it was so strong.
It was
and so it's
but it does mean you've now got a warband that has I think the lowest wound count in the game. Right. 2 of the fighters are on dodges and that severely reduces their ability to reduce damage, so that it will remain to be seen how much that damages them, but I feel like that's quite a blow to them.
It is, and they already weren't getting a lot of play. I mean, they did well in our previous tournament. Imogen pilots them very well. Be interested to see what she thinks about it.
And they did win Worlds, so they've had their
time. But they've been nerfed already.
Exactly.
So So they were strong, but they have fallen.
Is this a nerf too far? We shall have to wait and see. And then the one that we probably all come here to talk about.
But they're right down the bottom of the alphabet. Although funny enough, not the last warband alphabetically, but they're right at the bottom. So they're right at the bottom of this video. It's Zarbag's Gits.
Yes, we didn't leave this till last because we're horrible YouTubers who like to leave all the actually interesting stuff till right at the end of the video to make you watch the whole thing. We're just doing in alphabetical order.
Well, it's because the document's in alphabetical
order. Pretty much. Zarbags have long reign supreme as one of the top warbands. They got one of the best win-loss ratios in the game. We haven't seen them win a lot of trophies. They've won probably more than their fair share, but it's not like they win every tournament.
No, it's funny because I played them at Grand Clash twice, and they're the 2. I run 3 games, 2 of them against Gits, which was quite funny. Maybe I just had sometimes some builds a hard counter, aren't they? And
maybe they were rubbish players.
Well, they could have been. They could have been. Seems likely. Sorry, opponents.
If you lost to him.
Anyway. They were strong. Everybody said how strong they were, and they were impressive because there's 9 fighters. They're incredibly accurate. They've got loads of dodges. Could only get 7 glory for them, and they just did everything really well.
Really easy to inspire.
Extra movement.
Great action economy.
Yeah. So you know all that anyway. But they've changed it. So they have tweaked the inspire condition a little bit. I don't really feel like this is a massive change, but I suppose it is a percentage change. Immediately after your total glory points are greater than the number of friendly fighters on the battlefield, inspire each friendly fighter. It used to be equal to or greater.
The glory count for Gits goes up so fast,
Yeah.
you would probably blink and miss that moment when it made a difference anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is a nerf. Gits players could tell you how big a nerf it is. I'm not completely sure. And the other change they've made is they've removed barely worth it.
So now, if you kill all of the goblins, all 9 of them, you'll get 9 glory instead of capping
So you can
at 7.
farm 9 glory from them, which I think is... I don't know how often you killed all 7.
I was going to say, how often do people kill more than 7 goblins?
True. That's true. But you can at least, in theory, get 9.
Theoretically, you could get 9 glory, but in practice, you've got to make like 11 of your 12
Especially when
attacks.
they're running 2 dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Tricky.
It's not going to make much difference. But they have replaced barely worth it with 2 bouncy.
Yes.
Which affects the squeaks.
But it also affects any other member of your warband who you haven't given an upgrade that might give them the flying ability.
Flying
should something
room,
come
I guess.
on
Yeah, that's true. Because of the way they do things now, they don't refer to them as squeaks. They've
No.
just got the flying room mark.
Yeah.
Because they're the only 2 with the flying room mark. They can no longer delve or hold treasure tokens.
That doesn't feel like a massive thing. I mean, sometimes you're going to have a scenario where you're like, I really want to move the squig onto that objective and then attack somebody, but now I don't want to because the squig can't hold it. They do still block your opponent from being able to get on them, so you've still got options.
Yeah.
It cuts you down a little bit, but overall you're just going to charge with the squig because they're the more bitey ones anyway, and then you're going to scurry another goblin onto the objective.
Almost certainly.
So it doesn't feel like a massive change. Maybe it'll be just death by 1,000 cuts. They'll slowly get worse and worse with all these changes, and then they won't be quite so good anymore.
I suppose it means, because they're quite hard to kill,
Yeah.
and if you get close to them, they can bite your face off.
Yeah.
I suppose it means there's more mileage in going after the goblins, because you can kill those, and then if you kill those goblins, then that reduces the number of objectives that they can hold or flip.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a little bit better. It means that they can only do with 7 knights at their warband now rather than 9 knights.
Yeah, I do feel like they could have done more with Zarbag to nerf him down a bit, possibly made it such that the squigs can't be part of the scurry mechanic.
Maybe, yeah.
It would require adding another room mark or something to differentiate the squigs from the regular goblins, but I don't feel like Snurk
I guess you could just add flying.
You could, yeah, true, but I don't feel like Snurk or the squigs should have benefited from scurry.
No.
It should have been the other 5.
Yeah, I don't think.
Or
To
six,
be honest, I
rather.
don't think Snurk should be able to.
No, that's true. In fact, they could have given Snurk the fly ability,
Yeah.
which wouldn't have made a great deal of difference, and would just represent him flying around all over the place.
Yeah.
And then none of them would be able to. And they could have
Yeah.
just said that fighters with flying can't
Because Snurk
use
on an
scurry.
objective is in the middle of the board is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's just stupid. So I feel like Snurk and the squigs, none of them should be affected by scurry, and none of them should be able to flip or hold objectives.
That said, I think it's reasonable to err on the side of caution.
Slowly dial
like
it
they
up.
did with Thrice Fold, they turned it down, but they've obviously done it still too strong, and they can turn it down again.
Yeah,
I guess they can do something similar with Zarbags.
Yep, I'm not sure that this is enough to see people drop Zarbags like a stone. I guess we didn't want people to drop them completely.
No.
But I think anybody who was looking to Zarbags to win a tournament, it's still a solid pick. They're still
It is.
very good.
I think Grimwatch is probably better now.
Maybe.
I think
Maybe.
Grimwatch can do that stuff. I think Grimwatch might be better.
They don't have the action economy though, and
No.
Grimwatch, when inspired, aren't as terrifying as the Goblins
No, that is
inspired.
true.
The Goblins still have a lot of hard-hitting fighters with those 2 squigs and Drizkit and Zarbag.
Dodges
So
as well. All the dodges. So there you go. The final warband is, of course, Ondara, but she hasn't changed.
No.
So that is all of the warband changes. Actually, quite a lot there to mull over. I give this document, I think it's the best of the 3 that they've produced. I quite like the change. I'd probably give it a B.
I give it a B, yeah. I don't think it's A territory because I think Zarbag could have been hit a bit harder, and some of the other worse warbands could have been lifted a bit more.
Yeah.
Like you say, slowly.
Yeah. To be fair, I think a B is probably about as good as it can get. Very hard to give it A,
Yeah,
because there's
I think
always
A.
going to be something that they haven't done that you want to do, or they've done
Yeah.
too much, or whatever. So I think it's a solid changes that will improve the game.
Yeah.
Unlike the changes to the rules.
The objectives and underdog and stuff like that, which is
so-
just going to confuse things.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it shakes up the meta. How do you think it will shake up the meta? Do you think Grimwatch are better than Zarbags now, or am I talking out of my proverbial behind?
Do you think they should have buffed some of the other warbands more, or do you think that all the Skinnikin need buffing? Or do you think that other warbands are pretty much okay as they are?
So let us know in the comments below what you think.
Yeah, and don't forget to click that like button.
And click that subscribe button.
And ring that bell so you'll get notified of other videos we bring out.
And do consider supporting us on Patreon, where we discuss all this stuff during the daytime and in the evening as well on our Discord. And you'll get all the extra videos that we put on Patreon. So in our Battle of the Bads, we're doing 2 for each thing, and 1 extra video will go on Patreon.
So we'll see you soon, probably in the Embergard.
Bye!